What is up, JL Life? Modo here. In today's video, we're going to be welding in a rear truss to strengthen the axle housing on my Jeep JL. Stay tuned. So today's video, we're going to be we're going to be welding in the rear truss from Cavfab for the Jeep JL Rubicon models. It is 1/4 inch thick steel. It does come bare steel. I have primed mine, just doing some pre-work. It's because it's easier to work on things when it's dry rather than wet. Especially the interior, very hard to get up into that. It being steel, if you don't cover it all with something, it's gonna rust. So if you're wondering what an axle truss is and what an axle truss does to benefit your axle, let me show you. So inside of an axle, you have your 3 main strength points. Granted, there are a lot more different things that you can break on your axle, but I'm breaking it down into 3. Your axle shaft's designated by the color red. Your ring, locker, spider gears, pinion, all represented by the green. And the black is the axle housing. So what a truss essentially does is that it helps bridge your axle, your diff, and your axle tubing, helps bridge it all together to help flexing up and down, because as you're hitting obstacles hard, there's going to be flex inside of this to where it's going to want to start, curving down to where it's going to curve down. Then of course it's going to pop right back up. It's designed to have some sort of give inside of the axle, but if you flex it too much, you're risking things like separating an axle tube, permanently bending the axle tubes, cracking the axle housing. There's just a lot of things that can break with this. So what a truss does, it helps make it stiffer so it doesn't flex so much, so it doesn't get to that point beyond no return and it breaking. And we're only going to be going over the rear axle in today's video. I got stuff for the front axle. I'm just waiting on ball joints, and I'm waiting on my gussets to finally come in. I've been waiting. So trusses are relatively cheap for what they are. You can pick up a truss for 100, 200 bucks for the JLs. But it's the labor. It's the labor that gets expensive. You obviously need to know how to weld or have a friend who knows how to weld and a welder. You can do this while the axle is under the Jeep. Some of the reasons why I'm not even trying to weld it while it's under the Jeep is 1, it's windy outside. Gas welding and wind don't mix. And 2, it's going to be hard to show you guys what exactly I'm doing. I'm going to tear the axle out. I'm going to move it into the garage, and we're going to start going over some steps. There it all is. More work than I probably needed to do, but doing it for the vids. All right, so got it all pulled out. First thing I'm gonna wanna do is let's clean it up. Yeah, I should probably clean it first. So before we start welding and all the sanding prep work, you're going to want to dry fit your truss. As you can see, this one has cutouts for the locker plug, cutout for the vent tube. And overall, it fits pretty nice. So one of the things you're going to need to do is obviously you got to weld on a clean bare metal surface. So what I'm going to do is just mark roughly where I will be contacting. Once I remove it, basically see where I'm going to be welding to. So as you can see, cleaned up the mating surfaces where it's going to contact the axle. I actually went all the way around the tube because I actually plan on welding that. The tube itself is pressed into the diff housing. They're held in by these plug welds. You can kind of see there's one that I didn't sand down. But there's 4 of them on each side, 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, and that's what's holding this in place. So if those ever give out, your tube is likely to twist, which is going to cause a whole bunch of additional problems. I am going to work on welding the tubes as well. We can grab our piece, work on dry fitting it again, making sure we have a nice clean surface. Again, it's super important that you have clean surfaces to weld to, because if you don't, you're getting paint inside of your weld or primer or powder coating, whatever it is. You're getting things inside the weld that shouldn't be there, and it's going to translate to a weaker bond. When welding to the axle tube, you want to make sure you're not super overheating this. Now, I know some people are going to say I should be preheating the cast steel. From the research I've been doing, you don't need to do it. That's only something that needs to happen with cast iron. So it's just important, again, I'm stressing, you need to let things cool down. Show you my welds, and I'm waiting for it to be cool enough for me to touch. Not a bad weld at all, but yeah, a little too hot. This side I screwed up right there. Still a nice weld. So got it all done, got it all painted up, got it put back under the Jeep. Note to anyone wanting to do this, these axles are surprisingly heavy, so you want to make sure you have a second set of hands when moving it. Let's show you the truss. So this is going to add a lot of strength to the axle housing as far as flexing at the joints. It's going to help also hold the tubes in place so they don't twist. Happy with these welds. The ones on the tube got a little sloppy, I'm not gonna lie. So I feel like I'm going to have to make this disclaimer. I'm obviously not a professional welder. I'm still learning to be efficient at it, but I'm happy with how this turned out. So this isn't so much a how-to video because I really didn't feel comfortable showing you guys how to do this. When this is the first truss I've welded into my Jeep, is more of a check it out, show you what trusses are for, and follow my build. I know somebody's going to say that I should have preheated the cast steel before welding to it. I know people who've been welding a really, really long time, and they do it for a living, and they say for cast steel, that's not really a necessity to do. It's not going to hurt anything if you do it, but you don't need to do it. And we'll see. As of right now, none of my welds have cracked, and that's the biggest issue, is when you're welding to cast steel or cast iron, is cracking of the weld. And I haven't gotten any cracks. We'll see how it holds up though. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Stay tuned for the next one, and y'all, keep it easy.